Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings to everyone here this afternoon. Thank you for coming out on a cold and windy and wet Auckland afternoon. It's fantastic to see so many people here from across the credit sector and a lot of faces that we've seen at this forum before. So thanks very much for your time this afternoon and welcome. I'm Anna Rawlings. I'm a Commissioner with the Commerce Commission, for those who haven't seen me before at this forum. And I'd like to acknowledge, just to begin with, Tim Barnett, who's our guest today from the National Building Financial Capability Charitable Trust. Welcome, Tim. It's great to have you here, and we look forward to hearing more from Tim this afternoon about the Trust's work and its perspective on relationships with its clients and with members of the credit market as well. I also want to acknowledge those members of staff from the Commission who are here, and there are a number today, so I won't go through them all. We've got those in the panel in the front who will be contributing to the discussion today, but also a number of other staff who have contributed to putting together this afternoon and similar forums in Wellington and Christchurch, and will also contribute to the question and answer session as well. Also, you'll have on your seat an agenda for this afternoon which sets out our plan for the sessions. We've set aside some time for questions both after the first half or the first two sessions of the forum, and then another Q&A session towards the end. The afternoon is about information sharing. It's not just for the provision of information by the Commission, but we really encourage you and welcome your thoughts about your recent experiences with implementation of the CCCFA, and hope that you'll take advantage of those Q&A opportunities as well. If we run out of time, then I apologise in advance if you don't get the opportunity to put your questions to the panel this afternoon, but encourage you as well to just approach any member of the Commission staff during the break if you'd like to, for a chat about anything that we've discussed or any other issues that you'd like to cover. So we're really pleased again to hold these seminars to give lenders, all of you, and members of the credit community a better understanding of our current credit work program, but also of our complaints processes and prioritisation processes and the emerging issues that we're seeing in the credit space. We hope that it will give you a greater insight into the work that we're doing, and that will in turn inform your own business processes and perhaps give you some sense of issues of compliance to be having a look at within your own businesses. As many of you will know, we prioritise our work taking into account the likely harm that may occur in credit markets for consumers. But our priorities are also very strongly influenced by the need to advance the interests of compliant lenders and the effectiveness of consumer credit markets as a whole. And as many of you will know, all of those are purposes and objectives of the CCCFA, and they're all really reasonably equal in importance. We want to ensure that there's a level playing field for lenders, and that also lenders have clarity and certainty about their legal obligations and the things that they need to do to comply with the CCCFA. So we've recently taken proceedings aimed at this purpose to clarify the application of the CCCFA to aspects of peer-to-peer lending, of which you might be aware. And many of you will also be aware that in 2015 we did some work reviewing the practices in the mobile trader industry, which emphasised changes to disclosure obligations and the need to comply with those changed obligations. We've recently done a very similar review. For those who haven't seen it, it's also available online through our website. And this time we looked at 215 online disclosures on websites to assess compliance with disclosure obligations. Our review found that a large number of lenders are failing to comply with basic obligations to clearly and prominently display key information on their websites. That includes information about interest rates and also fees. So we're encouraging all lenders to take a look at their online disclosure and the extent to which those obligations apply to you. And on the enforcement front, we'll be coming back to have a look at those lenders that we reviewed to assess their compliance in the future, having engaged with all of them about the issues that we found. Also on the enforcement front, you'll be aware that in our follow-up to the mobile trader report, we took 13 prosecutions against various traders and the courts imposed fines of around $1.6 million, and the Commission also achieved its first prison sentence against a director for conduct which was particularly severe. So the issue of compliance is clearly very important. That's why you're all here today. And while education constitutes a key part of the work that we do, and we are very interested in engaging with lenders in ensuring that they can comply, in appropriate cases or when that compliance activity is unsuccessful, we do of course utilise the full range of enforcement tools that are available to us under the CCCFA. Last year, in that regard, we announced that responsible lending would be a priority for the Commission, and that continues to be the case. We've recently issued a warning about potential breach of responsible lending obligations, and we've filed proceedings alleging irresponsible lending in a recent case which will come before the courts as well. The body of work that we're currently engaged in spans the whole range of credit activity, and it emphasises, I think, that lenders really need to have regard to the whole life of their relationship with borrowers, whether it's advertising credit, whether it's entering into loans, engaging responsibly and looking for solutions when things go wrong with your borrowers, or exercising responsible debt recovery processes. The entire life of that relationship is at issue, and the entire life of the relationship is really something that we are interested in continuing to look at. So I've touched on some of the investigation and advocacy work that we're doing. Carissa is going to provide some greater insight into a whole lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes that is less visible to the lending community, and that's work in assessing complaints and triaging the intelligence that we gather to make decisions about enforcement and compliance activities. And it's that information that we hope will really provide you with some greater insight about why we choose the areas of priority that we choose and why we engage in a lot of the activity that we're engaging in. And so we hope that that will be useful to you. As many of you know, we also look to continue to educate consumers or borrowers about the things that they need to know when they're engaging in credit markets. And we do this, of course, because it's useful to borrowers, but also because we think that everybody wins in that situation. For example, if borrowers know the kinds of information that they need to bring to their lender in order to obtain credit, then lenders have an easier time complying with their responsible lending obligations, and borrowers also end up obtaining credit that they can actually afford to service. And in the consumer education space, you might have seen our series of animations in the It's All Good series. They're available online. If you haven't seen them, I'd encourage you to see them. We've had feedback from a number of lenders that although they originally targeted borrowers, they've been useful for lenders sharing with their clients to help borrowers to understand their obligations as well as their rights. And lastly, we, like all of you here, are looking forward to participating in the upcoming review of the CCCFA. The Minister indicated last week that the discussion paper should be available in the next couple of weeks, and we'd really encourage all of you to take a good look at the discussion paper. Helpfully, it's going to be released in two forms, one more detailed for those who really want to engage with the subject matter, and one in a more simplified version so that those with less time on their hands or wanting to get a high-level overview of its content can access that as well. It provides a really good opportunity for you to exercise your voice about your experience of working with the CCCFA, and we think that, as does the Ministry, that obtaining as many different voices and as much input into that process as possible helps to make sure that the legislation is really fit for purpose and geared to providing the kind of balance in both compliance and enforcement and consumer protection that is intended. So we encourage you to keep an eye out for that. So now I won't take up any more of the session time in covering some substantive matters, and I'll invite Carissa Baker, our Manager of Intelligence, Advocacy and Inquiries, to speak to you a little bit more about our intelligence gathering and prioritisation processes.